Hey, this is Nicky G and welcome to Better Commander. Today we're doing our 3,000 subscriber special, buddy. We're doing Jeskai wheels with a boy and his flying shark. I'm going to take you all the way back to 2008, dude. The name Squealchair is kind of an homage to a drunken animal I used to interact with when I worked at the bar. This guy, he was the legitimate rock star in Europe. His band sold out stadiums, they opened for other huge European bands, but here in the States, not so much. Nobody knew who the heck he was. He lived in my hometown. Anyway, he was at the bar I worked at, and he scrawled an idea down on a napkin. It was a pig with wheels, and he called it Squealchair. At the time, I dismissed the idea as the disordered and random firing of neurons of a diseased brain, but as I grow older, I've realized there is some merit to the idea of a live conveyance, and subsequently named my deck that. Alright, listen, I'm going to take you through the fascinating commander deck that bears the name Squealchair. But first, just take a wander over to the like and subscribe buttons, alright? It costs you basically nothing, maybe just 1 or 2 skin cells, and when you push them in, 3,000 people can't be wrong, right? Unless you're talking about FTX investors, I guess. I also want to humbly thank all my viewers in the Better Brotherhood to bring me this far. Thanks, dudes. Alright, our first commander is Bralin, Sky Shark Rider. It's 3 and a red for a legendary creature, human shaman. It's a 3/3. He's got partnered with Shabraz, the Sky Shark, but you already knew that. Whenever you discard a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Bralin, Sky Shark Rider, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. It has 1 red mana. Target shark gains trample until end of turn. I got a little secret for you. There's only 1 other shark in this deck. As you can see, this joyful, shirtless, long-haired gentleman is sitting on his own personal chair. He's riding a shark, right? He's got a serrated sword, and he's really just killing it fashion-wise. And then over in this corner, you got Shabraz, the Sky Shark. 3 white and a blue for a legendary creature, Shark Bird. It's a 3/3. Has partnered with Bralin, but we already knew that. Flying. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Shabraz, the Sky Shark, and you gain 1 life. It has 1 hybrid white-blue mana. Target human gains flying until end of turn. Ikoria sometimes seems like a fever dream when I read these cards, right? It's really wild, man. How does this guy breathe? It's a shark. It makes no sense. It's a flying shark. Look at the art for these two. I decided to call it Squealchair. I think a shark that could fly but also has no ability to breathe would probably make some type of squealing sound, you know? And he's also a chair, so there you go. So in this alternate realm, there's a boy and his pet flying shark bird, and they want to draw cards and they want to discard cards. I don't know, maybe these two are dating. It's that kind of world in 2023, you know what I'm saying? This is a wheel deck with a side of spell slinging and some win conditions. You got to win somehow. It's either going to win quickly through wheels, damage, commander damage, or, as has happened in at least 3 games I've played with it, you mill yourself and kill yourself somehow. If someone has a draw punish card like the new Sheoldred, you're dead. Alright, so this deck plays fast and fun, but it can feel like solitaire sometimes, and to get to your wheels, you'll need some enablers. The thesis of this deck is to win through damage by drawing and discarding cards. You got Faithless Looting in there, you got Brainstorm in there, you got Preordained and Careful Study. You want a very high card velocity with broad card selection. You want some of these cheap little cantrippy spells to do it for you. Additionally, you want to pay attention to the words draw and discard, and find efficient spells that do that. You also end up having 2 commanders that cost 4 and 5, so you definitely want some ramp in this deck. Standard 2 and 3 mana rocks that'll fix your colors. I also have a Hedron archive in there that I sometimes use to break through a block of lands or something and get to where I need to go. I didn't include a ton of ramp, about 8 sources or so, maybe 9, because the card velocity is so high you'll see these spells more often. Alright, so I also included some spell copy effects and some spell recursion. Because there are limited wheels in the format, I'm not spending $200 getting a Wheel of Fortune for this stupid deck. And 2 wheels are better than 1 wheel. You got Insidious Will. This is a great flexible counter that can net you big mana if you copy an opponent's big sorcery. Or you can protect your shark, deflect a spell somewhere else. It's 2 blue for an instant. Choose 1 counter target spell. Sounds good? Or you may choose new targets for target spell, also good. Or copy target instant or sorcery spell, you may choose new targets for the copy. Look at that mug, dude. This guy looks like Brock Lesnar a little bit. And you got Reverberate. This is what it looks like when you come home and your girlfriend asks you to do something before she left for work, and she comes home and you still haven't done it and you're sitting in front of the PlayStation. It's red for an instant. Copy target instant or sorcery spell. You can choose new targets for the copy. Again, you can use this on your opponent's removal as well. You do whatever you want. You can do some really tricky stuff with this, dude. And you got Narset's Reversal. Look at her up there. She's just saying, no, listen, I reverse you. Blue for an instant. Copy target instant or sorcery spell, then return it to its owner's hand. You may choose new targets for the copy. Listen, you can copy your own stuff. You can return an impactful spell right to hand, or you can mess up your opponent's sequencing. She's like, I'm not going to let you do it. I'm reversing you. and you want to throw in some recursion, we got the old man himself, Snapcaster Mage. 1 in a blue for a creature, human wizard, it's a 2/1 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. Flashback cost equal to its mana cost. This thing's $15 right now, cheapest I've ever seen this guy. This crested up to $80 at different points in its history. This card's great. Hold up 4 mana and get that counterspell right back in response to whatever devious nonsense your opponent's doing. He's got a monocle, dude. He's got a cane. He's got a power canister filled with Mountain Dew, so watch your tail. Mystic Retrieval, what a classic, dude. 3 in a blue for a sorcery. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Has flashback for 2 in a red. This is such a fantastic role player. There are only so many true wheel effects, and this can get a good one back twice, or you can get whatever you need back, like a removal or some sweepers or whatever. Spell Twine, 5 in a blue for a sorcery. Exile target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard and target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. Copy those cards. Cast the copies, if able, without paying their mana cost. Exile Spell Twine. I'll admit, this is kind of a fun card for me. Some people are like, well, you know, there are approximately 6.9 cards that are more efficient than this. Spell Twine has been power crept out of the format, but it's neat to get whatever impactful spell your opponents are playing. Jeska's Will is rampant out there, right? My play group. So getting one of these is awesome. Or you can shore up the weakness in Jeskai with some stuff from your opponent's graveyards. Underworld Beach, dude. You want to go have a day at the Underworld Beach? 1 and a red mana for an enchantment. Oh, Breach. Okay. Each 9-land card in your graveyard has Escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice Underworld Breach. Classic example of a commander card that I bought because I saw its power. It looked really powerful to me, but I didn't have a deck for it at the time. I bought it for $4 and now it's $12. This can be super important to get back combo pieces or wheels. And there are wheels that feed your graveyard so you can keep the escape cost fed with the wheel, dude. This card's awesome. Alright, so we got a bunch of recursion, and what's perfect cards to recur, you ask? Well, the next 2 categories of cards, you dingus. We got rituals and we got tutors. So turnabout is 2 blue for an instant. Choose artifact, creature, or land. Tap all untapped permanents of the chosen type target player controls, or untap all tapped permanents of that type that player controls. This is a classic. The old school Urza's version crept up to like $5, but it's getting a reprint in Dominaria Remastered, so you can get it cheap pretty soon. The versatility of this card is unmatched. You can tap all your opponent's creatures for a Flying Shark KO, you can untap all your lands and get a mana burst, you can screw up somebody's turn. Listen, consider this card when the reprint drives the price down, okay? There she is, dude. Jeska's Will. She's exerting her will on you. She's like, you're going to clean the toilet. And you're like, all right, I'm going to do it. 2 in a red for a sorcery. Choose 1. If you control a commander as you cast this spell, and you got 2 commanders in this deck, you may choose both. Add red for each card in target opponent's hand, or exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn, or both, buddy. This card's such a house. Come on. Everybody knows this card's a house. I'm surprised it's not $40. Look at this lady. She's just shooting triangles out of her jejunum, dude. That's insane. So is this card. That's smoother than tithe. 3 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If the player doesn't, you create a treasure token. While not a ritual as such, this is a fantastic card for a burst of mana. The secret sauce here is that when you're playing wheels, so your opponents are drawing 7 cards, right? Unless they can pay the tithe, you're making 21 treasures. Then hopefully you draw into another wheel. Then it's pretty likely that you do, and you can continue the cycle. When draw equals damage, wheeling a few times in a turn mostly means victory. So how do we dig this beast of a win condition out of our deck? Well, now it's tutor time, dude. Spell Seeker, this gray lady just got her hair done. She's like seeking spells out there. 2 and a blue for a creature, human wizard. It's a 1/1. When Spell Seeker enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an instant or sorcery card with mana value 2 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. This lady is super expensive right now, $40 or so, because it's so versatile. Some of our draw spells are 1 or 2 blue and X, so the mana value's, 1 or 2. Or you can just go get Cyclonic Rift, or you can go get Enlightened Tutor. This card's awesome. Oh, there she is, my grandma, 1 white for an instant. Search your library for an artifact or enchantment card, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top. 3 of our win conditions are enchantments, and 1 of our wheels is an artifact. I mean, this lady, she looks just like Liam Neeson to me, so I like to pretend that she's Liam Neeson's grandma in the art, right? So give her the respect she deserves. I'll never use another art, and I like to pretend that he's using his very specific set of skills to go and rescue her from some danger or something, dude. Look at this heartwarming scene, dude. Some NBA player is reaching down to high-five a fan, and that's really heartwarming to me. Idyllic Tutor is 2 and a white for a sorcery. Search your library for an enchantment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. This only has 4 targets, right? But if you get the right one, you're winning the game, and I'm going to talk about the rest of them right now. Curiosity is 1 blue mana for an enchantment and aura enchant creature. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Notice this doesn't say combat damage. So Ophidian Eye is basically the same thing. These 2 cards combo with Browlin. There's another creature called Tandem Lookout that works as well. Here's what you gotta do. We use our draw spells to, like at the end of turn, to go to 8 or more cards. Whatever your maximum hand size, then you need 1 more. So the result is you get infinite damage, infinite card draw. So you get all these permanents on the battlefield. Curiosity is attached to Browlin. You have a number of cards in your hand greater than your maximum hand size. You have more cards in your library than your opponent's life total. And then during the cleanup step, you discard to your maximum hand size. Browlin triggers for each card discarded, dealing 1 damage to each opponent. Curiosity triggers, causing you to draw a card for each damage done to each opponent. Then you pass priority, moving to an additional cleanup step, rinse and repeat. You end up killing the table unless you have a small library or someone has that draw punish card that we talked about earlier. Then you just kill yourself, and that's kind of hilarious as well. Alright, people are going to cotton on real quick that Browlin's kind of doomed for the table, and so is Shabraz, so they're going to remove him, right? So you want some redundancy. Psychosis Crawler is 5 generic mana for an artifact creature, Phyrexian Horror. It's a star. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand, and whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. This can stack up a ton of damage. I mean, who cares? You got Browlin out there, you got Shabraz out there, put this out there too, you're going to kill everybody 3 times as quick. It's a classic commander card. He's just a brain in a jar, dude. I don't know what he's thinking about, but people are taking damage. And you have kind of a similar effect with the Locust God. 4 blue and a red for a legendary creature. It's a god. 4/4 with flying. Whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature token with flying and haste. Has 2 blue and a red, draw a card, then discard a card. When the Locust God dies, you can return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. This guy's been hitting the gym. Look at those abs, buddy. So this deck is really interesting to play, so you kind of have 2 halves of the deck that work in concert. Some of the cards work better with Browlin, some work better with Shabraz. If you can get them both on the battlefield, you're basically pretty golden. If you can untap with them, you can do some pretty wild stuff. So there's a bunch of creatures that can help us draw cards, and the Whirlpool Buddies are 2 awesome ones. You got Whirlpool Rider and you got Whirlpool Warrior. These 2 cards from Apocalypse increase our card velocity so we can get to our true wheels. Whirlpool Warrior is obviously better, right? You can use it twice basically, and has some serious Kev Walker art, synergizes great with Smothering Tide. Oh man, here she comes, Riel the Everwise. 1 blue and a red, here she comes. Legendary creature, Human Wizard, it's a 0/3. Riel the Everwise gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards for the first time each turn, draw that many cards. This old lady, she's walking around with her horns sticking out and her stick, dude. She's just teasing all the guys, putting on her old lady makeup, harassing all the young dudes. Have you ever beheld Nin the Pain Artist? Look at this beauty. She's kind of freaky looking, but I've always had a bit of a penchant for bald ladies with electricity guns. This card's pretty versatile because we can use it to hurt Shabraz, but then he gets the counters on him to negate the damage. Plus you get to draw cards. If she's out there by herself, she can just hit herself for 100 damage and you draw 100 cards, which sounds like something that one of my ex-girlfriends would do. Runehorn Hellkite. So this guy has, if he's in your graveyard, 5 and a red, exile Runehorn Hellkite from your graveyard. Each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards. I almost never want to cast this guy to get a 5/5 dragon. It's not helping my strategy at all. We have a bunch of ways to discard, so getting this in the graveyard is usually pretty easy. I talk about this during my dragon video. I think it's an underrated wheel staple for me. I love this card. And while we do have cards like Prosperity and Pull from Tomorrow, I want to highlight Read the Runes. X and a blue for an instant, draw X cards. For each card drawn this way, discard a card unless you sacrifice a permanent. So you just made 36 treasures by wheeling with Smothering Tithe, right? This happened to me in the game I played the other day with this deck. And then you cast this guy with Browlin on the field. Well, brother, you can draw 35 and discard 35, thereby dealing a ton of damage. Plus this guy looks like he's rocking to some really sweet metal. We also have wheel staples like Reforge the Soul and Molten Psyche. Wheels like this have their advantages and their disadvantages. You got to read each one pretty carefully because sometimes you're not discarding, sometimes you're just drawing cards. I really like the guy in Molten Psyche because he's got lava on his brain, which is a legitimate medical emergency. And now with blue, we have Windfall and Time Reversal. Blue has a bunch of other ones, but usually in blue you're shuffling everything into your library, then drawing up to 7. In total, there are about 15-16 wheel effects in this deck that you can get to with the smaller cards for a high card velocity, and you know, that's how you win the game in this deck, dude. You're drawing and discarding cards, brother. I don't know if you remember, but Memory Jar. 5 generic mana for an artifact. Tap, sacrifice Memory Jar. Each player exiles all cards from their hand face down and draws 7 cards. At the beginning of the next end step, each player discards their hands and returns to their hands each card they exiled this way. If you need a wheel, you can tutor this up with Enlightened Tutor. This card rocks, totally broke standard in like 1999. I don't know, I didn't play back then. It's $50 or so right now and is reserve list. I packed one of these and I was pretty psyched about it. The art is really wild too. I mean, if you look really close, you can see faces in the pink mist. I love this old card, dude. Oh man, then you got Change of Fortune. 3 in a red for a sorcery. Discard your hand, then draw a card for each card you've discarded this way. This card is interesting because at base level, it's kind of a wheel based on your hand size just for you. But if you've already discarded your hand this turn, you can draw an incredible amount of cards. The art on this is really beautiful too. This lady just got her kids on the school bus and she's already slopping wine all over the place. Take it easy, will you? So yeah, man, I built this deck. I've been building it for years. Fill it out with some ramp, you got some removal in there, you got a Cyclonic Rift in there, you got a really fun commander deck, dude. Look at that Rift. Everybody's like, oh, is he rifting? I don't know. It's interesting because Brolin can kill the table, Shabraz can swing for lethal commander damage sometimes. It's always a threat. You're always doing things and it's fun. The ability to mess up your opponent's game plans is nicer than it seems sometimes as well. There's always the possibility that you draw them into something better, some removal for your creatures, but that's why you sock it in something like counterspell, some counter magic. This is a blue deck after all, dude. I think I have Swan Song, counterspell, some other stuff in here. Anyway, thanks for taking me to 3,000 subscribers. This has been a really, honestly, fun ride so far. Decklist is going to be in the description. I love making these, and I hope you enjoy them. It's Nicky G from Better Commander signing off.